So, good morning, dear teacher, dear community. Let us enjoy our sitting posture, sitting at ease, relax our shoulders, bringing our mind back to our body, being aware of our breath, in breath and out breath. We will practice together some guided meditation before we start the talk. Let us start with 3 sounds of the bell. Breathing in, I am aware of my in-breath. Breathing out, I am aware of my out-breath. Aware of in-breath, aware of out-breath. Breathing in, I am aware of my whole body. Breathing out, I relax my whole body. Aware of body, relaxing body. As I breathe in and out mindfully, I send forth this prayer. May the people in the world experience peace at this time. May they be happy, safe, healthy, protected, and loved. May my family, my loved ones, my friends be peaceful, happy, safe, healthy, protected, and loved. May those who are here with me now experience peace. May they be happy, safe, healthy, protected, and loved. May I be peaceful, happy, safe, healthy, protected, and loved. Dear community, thank you for your practice. How is everyone today? Okay, good. Yeah. Today is May 5th, year 2024, and we are at Blue Cliff Monastery in the Great Togetherness Meditation Hall. It's spring and outside it's raining. We might feel a little cold, but I trust the trees and the forest is very happy. right now, receiving the spring rain. Today I'd like to share with you about parallel phrases that we practice. Each year in our tradition, our teacher and then now our Sangha offer parallel words or phrases or sentences for us to welcome the new year and also to practice throughout the year. And this year we have two phrases, and the brother and sister printed them out and decorated them onto the wall of the hall. One says Tha Thứ, one says Bao Dung. They're Vietnamese, and the loose translation is spacious mind and inclusive heart. But there is a literal translation, roughly translated. Forgiveness is Tha Thứ, and Bao Dung is something like being generous, being inclusive. I remember when our teacher was present, and every year all we needed to do was to wait for him to offer the parallel verses or sentences, and we practice. But ever since he has fallen ill and then passed away, it has been the Sangha's job to continue that. And every year, I think about a month or two before the end of the year, you will see emails passing back and forth among the centers, among the elder brothers and sisters, encouraging people to come up with new parallel phrases or sentences for the whole community to practice. And it's really fun to read those emails. That this brother offer these phrases, and that sister offer other phrases, and we discussed, and then we narrow down to a few. Usually we have like 10 or more phrases that were offered, and then we have to narrow down. At some point, the new year approaches, and we have to decide. So it's very fun to see the process. It takes longer, and it takes a collective insight. Versus when we had our teacher, all we did was just to follow. They offer something, we would take it because it's our teacher. But now the Sangha has to lead, and so it takes longer. But the process is joyful also. So this year is Tha Thứ and Bao Dung. And we need that for this year. I remember also that some brothers and sisters said, why don't we just use direct translation? It makes it easier and not having to sort of using images, mind and heart. And there were explanations for that. It is more general, more broad, and less sensitive, etc. And so the final words in English was spacious mind and inclusive heart. But regardless of the translation, we understand the meaning behind the practice. And so imagine if we all can put this into practice as an individual, as a family, as a society, or even as a nation. And peace is possible if we can learn to forgive and to be inclusive. But it is so difficult. It's very difficult, and seems increasingly so, from a personal level to the level of family, and then to the level of society, and to the level of nation. The larger the group, the more difficult, the more challenging that we can learn to practice forgiveness and generosity. But we have to start somewhere. And why not starting with ourselves first? Forgiveness has to begin with understanding, just as love has to begin with understanding. You can't really love if you don't understand. And you can't really forgive if you don't understand. Take the case of ourselves. In order to learn to forgive ourselves, we must learn first to understand ourselves better. We must understand the conditions that brought about our difficulty, our suffering. Perhaps we acted mistakenly, we have decided mistakenly, we've caused suffering for ourselves and others. Once we understand the causes, then we can see more clearly and we can learn to forgive ourselves. And that doesn't mean that when we continue to follow the same pattern, continue to decide the same way, or to act in the same manner, but we learn from our mistakes and not repeating them. We give ourselves a chance. And forgiveness lighten our heart. Take the case of dealing with others. We also need to understand the conditions, the causes that brought about a situation, say in a conflict or a misunderstanding. And also, we have to learn to use communication tools like loving speech, deep listening, in order to establish connection or re-establish connection. And then learn to understand the other person or the other group's difficulties, put ourselves in their shoes. Then and only then we'll be able to understand. And once we have that understanding, it's easy to forgive. And forgiveness is not like a one-time action and then we're done. It's a process, and we have to learn. We have to learn to continue to be forgiving. Just as with any other thing, it takes practice. And if we begin with ourselves, then we have the experience, we have the foundation to do the same for others. I read somewhere online that there's also a medical connection. If we learn to forgive, then our stress level is reduced. If we learn to forgive, then our risk of heart disease or mental illness are also reduced. And then forgiveness can prevent cognitive decline later in life, help us to be more happy and be more healthy. Imagine if our whole society practices forgiveness, then the doctors and the nurses will not be so overworked. And maybe the drug companies will be out of business. We're not there yet. But we can all learn to be more forgiving. It's just for the health benefits. And we're not even talking about how the other person felt or received our forgiveness. The benefits starts with us. In the past, our teacher and our Sangha, I think this is back 20 years ago or more, had tried to invite groups of Palestinians and Israelis to come to Plum Village, usually young people, and to share with them the practice of deep listening, of loving speech, of mindfulness, and help them to connect and to communicate and to learn to understand each other's situation and suffering. Because often when we suffer, we only see ourselves as the ones who suffer, and then the other one is the perpetrator of our suffering. But once we're able to communicate, we understand better. The others also suffer. And out of the suffering, they might create suffering for us. And we the same. When that understanding arises, compassion has a chance, and forgiveness has a chance. Imagine if the two groups like that come together at the level of society or of nations, then all of these atrocities will not happen that we don't witness now. Though we're far from there, but we see them on the news. And wars continue in many places in the world because we can't forgive. So Thay tried, and I remember when in my first few years in Plum Village, I've seen groups of young people from the Middle East came to Plum Village and practiced for, I believe, 2 weeks or so. And in the beginning, they can't come together. But slowly, the Sangha was there. They practiced walking meditation together, eating in silence, sitting in silence, Dharma sharing, deep listening. And in the end, they come up as one group and share their insight with the whole community. And they did that for a number of years. And we was able to establish Sangha, community of practice in that region. And we've had monastics who had come there also to share the teachings. So we cannot solve these issues. These issues date back years, decades, but we can do our part, and often with ourselves, because what we do now affect our future, affect our children, affect their future. If we teach our children kindness, forgiveness, compassion, then when they grow up, they exhibit those traits. But if we teach them hatred, violence, all they see is suffering. And when they grow up, they will do the same. So it's really up to us. And Buddhism offers us a way out, offers us a tool to do this. It's called the 5 mindfulness trainings. This is a revision, interpretation of the 5 precepts offered by the Buddha thousands of years ago. If nations, if societies, if families, if individuals, if we can apply these teachings, we can move the world toward peace. These are, they are not doctrines, they are not commandments, they are guidelines. Guidelines for us to cultivate more peace and more compassion in our own lives. And in turn, we can help cultivate a more peaceful and more compassionate society for everyone. And if we practice these mindfulness trainings, we give rise to spacious mind, to inclusive heart. And we attain the insight of interbeing, and that is the insight that we are all interconnected. We are. I am, therefore you are. You are, therefore I am. This is because that is. The 5 mindfulness trainings help us to cultivate reverence for life, help us to cultivate true happiness, true love, help us to train in loving speech, in deep listening, and also help nourish and heal. I will read the first one. The first mindfulness training, reverence for life. Aware of the suffering caused by the destruction of life, I am committed to cultivating insight of interbeing and compassion, and learning ways to protect the lives of people, animals, plants, and minerals. I am determined not to kill, not to let others kill, and not to support any act of killing in the world, in my thinking, or in my way of life. Seeing that harmful actions arise from anger, fear, greed, and intolerance, which in turn come from dualistic and discriminative thinking, I will cultivate openness, non-discrimination, and non-attachment to views in order to transform violence, fanaticism, and dogmatism in myself and in the world. Later today, we'll have a chance to listen to the recitation of these 5 mindfulness trainings. I invite you to stay and to participate. You don't have to receive them formally in order to practice them. When you listen and you hear that if the words resonated with you, incorporate them into your life and see if you can practice them. We have to begin with ourselves so that we can radiate some peace into the world. And the more the community grows and practices peace, the more we radiate that same energy into the world. So there is hope, and peace is possible. And it begins with each one of us. I like also to read you a poem from our teacher, which expresses this insight into being. And this poem has been read before and also put into music. It's called, Please Call Me by My True Name. Please call me by my true names. Don't say that I will depart tomorrow. Even today, I am still arriving. Look deeply, every second I am arriving, to be a bud on a spring branch, to be a tiny bird with still fragile wings, learning to sing in my new nest, to be a caterpillar in the heart of a flower, to be a jewel hiding itself in a stone. I still arrive in order to laugh and to cry, to fear and to hope. The rhythm of my heart is the birth and death of all that is alive. I am a mayfly metamorphosing on the surface of the river, and I am the bird that swoops down to swallow the mayfly. I am a frog swimming happily in the clear water of a pond. And I am the grass snake that silently feeds itself on the frog. I am the child in Uganda, all skin and bones, my legs as thin as bamboo sticks. And I am the arms merchant, selling deadly weapons to Uganda. I am the 12-year-old girl refugee on a small boat who throws herself into the ocean after being raped by a sea pirate. And I am the pirate, my heart not yet capable of seeing and loving. I am a member of the Politburo with plenty of power in my hands, and I am the man who has to pay his debt of blood to my people, dying slowly in a forced labor camp. My joy is like spring, so warm, it makes flowers bloom all over the earth. My pain is like a river of tears, so vast it fills the 4 oceans. Please call me by my true names, so I can hear all my cries and laughter at once, so I can see that my joy and pain are one. Please call me by my true names, so I can wake up, and the door of my heart could be left open, the door of compassion. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much for your presence.
Thank you, brother, for your sharing. Dear friend, when we hear the next sound of the small bell, we will stand up and bow to our Dharma teacher, and then we turn to the Buddha altar and bow the Buddha. And after that, please sit down again for some announcement.